Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
Uh, I forgot the Zen master's name who shook the table and left, but
Who's the national teacher?
national teacher. It made me laugh that he just left and then say, does he? Do you think that he knows he's being like esoteric, or is he like genuinely trying to teach something to this emperor?
Um, I don't think esoteric is quite the right word. So he's pointing to something. And he's pointing to something that may be before speech and before thinking. Just as many people say, many commentaries on the Diamond Sutra say, that when the Buddha, took off his outer robe and fluffed up the dried grass that he was sitting on and sat down, that was the complete teaching of the Diamond Sutra. So he was pointing to that. Esoteric usually means a very complicated kind of sort of ontological system with sort of spells and things you have to learn. But this is pointing to something very different. So, yeah, maybe he could have been thinking this is really good teaching, or he might have been thinking, I don't care about the emperor. I want to get out of here. I have no idea. But that style, that's very much Kangan style, is what it is. It's cutting to before speech, before thinking. And I would like to think that that's where the national teacher was coming from. Knowing that if he gave a beautiful, wonderful talk on the Diamond Sutra with all these philosophical, connections and relating to different things and everything like that, that the emperor would have been very pleased. But that's not what he wanted to do. So that's Zen style. Okay? So thank you. And the light coming from your window is really wonderful. Anything else? Yes.
I have a question about.
Okay, I have to keep repeating as you're talking.
Sorry. I have a question about our forms.
About our forms, a question?
So when I first started doing formal practice, it was with a different style.
Okay, you started with a different
I
style.
started with a different style, and we sat like this.
And you sat with your hands on your knees.
So the first time I went to a Zen group, which was a Soto Zen group, they had to teach me this.
So the first time you went to a Zen group, so you used to sit like this, and then you were taught to sit like this, yes.
Right. Which I will say was very difficult for me because of chronic pain.
Which because of chronic pain was difficult.
But they helped me. Mm-hmm. They helped me find my seat.
Okay.
Actually, it was really lucid.
And they helped you do it.
Yeah. So when I first showed up at Kansas Zen Center, this meeting, could you talk about why is that important and hold together actions? Why we all
so
sit
why,
like this
yeah.
instead of just doing our own stuff?
So why, the question is, why do we all sit like this? Well, the first thing is, we don't always. Occasionally somebody comes, they've had an injury to their shoulder, an injury to their arm, and they have to sit like this. And we allow that. We don't say, we don't care if you die. We don't care if you need major surgery. You must sit like us. I mean, here are Tom and I sitting in chairs. Hello. Very far from full lotus, very far from half lotus, but there we go. We have these bodies that we have to sit in chairs. Okay, so we're open about that. However, I will talk about that. When we sit with our hands like this, then, and you probably experienced this, so, since you used to do that, and a lot of people, there's mudras that we associate like this is one mudra that's associated with it. When we do things like that, the energy goes out. Just as we're told to sit with our eyes open at an angle to the floor, if we sit with our eyes straight ahead, the energy goes out. So there's this constant energy flow outwards. Whereas if we sit with our eyes at a 45-degree angle, if we sit with our hands in this mudra, and this mudra is not somewhere up here, right? This mudra, boy, that feels terrible. This mudra is down here, surrounding our Tian, our power spot. In Korean is Tanjin. So it's surrounding our power spot, sometimes called energy garden, I think is what it means in Chinese. And so that sets up a kind of circuit. And that sets up a kind of energy circuit where our energy goes out and then comes back. So it goes out and it comes back. And so that's setting up a kind of strength, because we're not constantly losing it, it's coming back. Also, the eyes going down, you know, if you're sitting on the floor, you have your knees. If you're sitting in a chair, you have your feet. You have 2 points of contact with the floor. Then the third is your butt, so that's, or with the chair. So that's 3 points of stability. But also, if you can think of your knees, if you're on the floor, or your feet, if you're in a chair or on a bench, if you then, where your eyes sort of come to rest, they don't really focus, you're not focusing sharply, but where they come to rest, that creates another tripod. So it's another source of stability. The other thing about sitting with our hands like this is that it brings our energy back to our Tian. So when we sit, oftentimes our energy rises, and we might feel it, you know, in our chest, in our heart region, or might feel it in our head a lot of times. A lot of people, maybe most of the time, most people, our energy is up here, and we're just going, thinking, right? Okay? This is not unfamiliar to anyone, right? So having our hands in this posture gives us a sort of a sensory cue to bring our energy back. So a lot of times you'll hear meditation teachers say, bring your energy down, bring your energy back. And, you know, if your hands are out here, it's a little hard to do. But if your hands are exactly where you need to let your energy sort of sink to, you just let it sink. It's not like you have to force it. It's sort of, there's a kind of psychic gravity that'll just go down there. So you have a clue. You have a sensory cue, a physical cue of where your energy should be. So that's why we suggest that kind of posture. So thank you for your question. Yes?
Jijang Bosal versus Kwansen Bosal chanting.
Pardon?
Jijang Bosal versus Kwansen Bosal chanting.
What's this? Verses. In one corner we have Jijang Bosal, and the other corner we have, yeah. So Kwansen Bosal is over there, there. Okay, way in the corner, blue. Kwansen Bosal is the Bodhisattva of compassion. In some depictions, she has 10,000 hands, and in each hand is an eye. So 10,000 hands and eyes. In the depiction we have over there, she's pouring the sweet dew of life on either an aborted or miscarried fetus. A very popular, sort of popular iconography in East Asia, because women were forced to abort their children often by their husbands. So this was a very comforting thought. And of course, miscarriages happen all the time. Often depicted seated by a waterfall. Many different sort of standard depictions. But Kwansen Bosal is the Bodhisattva of compassion. And so we chant, you know, in the beginning of Sunday practice, I announce a series of names we're chanting Kwansen Bosal for. And these are people who are in some kind of distress. It's usually some kind of physical illness. Sometimes it could be some kind of psychological distress, or maybe, you know, they've lost their house or something like that. So people ask, can you please chant for so-and-so, and then we add their name. And then after a while, I just take them off, because the list gets longer and longer. So that's Kwanzaa Bosal chanting. And Jijang Bosal, who is over there, and Jijang Bosal is, the name in Sanskrit is Sitagarbha. So Kwanzaa Bosal is Avalokiteshvara, Chinese Kuan Yin, Japanese Kannon, and Kanzeon. Jijang Bosal in Japanese is Jizo, and in Sanskrit it's Sitagarbha, which means earth womb, so earth womb bodhisattva, which is interesting. So Jijang Bosal is the bodhisattva for people in transition, and in particular, you will enjoy this because of what you do for a living, pregnant women, children, travelers, I'm leaving one out, and, oh, dead people, of course, people who've recently died, that's who we chant for, and firefighters, which you are. So, but we chant Jijang Bosal, we chant for people who have within 49 days of their death. So for 7 weeks, if someone you're close to dies and you ask us to chant for them, we will chant for 49 days from the day that they died. And that list is much shorter than the Kwanzaa Bosal list. And after 49 days, people go off the list. So Kwanzaa Bosal is basically compassion for those who are alive, and Jijang Bosal is compassion for those who have died. And there are many origin stories for both bodhisattvas, which I won't tell, but and then there are 2 other main bodhisattvas. There are thousands and tens of thousands of bodhisattvas, but the 4 main ones, there's Kwanzaa Bosal, Jijang Bosal, Manjushri, who's the bodhisattva of wisdom, and then Samantabhadra, the bodhisattva of action. So, and when the morning bell chant, not the morning bell chant, in the homage to the 3 jewels, there's a chant, there's a stanza where first we chant for Manjushri, Munsusari in Korean, then Samantabhadra, then Kwanzaa Bosal, and then Jijang Bosal. So those are the 4 main bodhisattvas, and they're sitting on both sides of, or standing on both sides of the Buddha on our altar painting. That, as I said, there's tens of thousands of bodhisattvas, so, including you. All right. Thank you for your question. Boy, we've lots of technical questions today. Anything else? Yes.
Buddha has a little diamond thingy.
A Buddha has a little diamond thingy. That's his third eye. Am I correct? That's his third eye? Is that Buddha's third eye? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Right. And that's not tight curls, those are snails that are protecting him from the heat as he's meditating under the tree, and then they never left. They just stuck around. You look like you have a question.
I was just marveling at their snails. I also have a question about healing and getting better.
A question about healing and getting better. Okay, now we're getting serious. Thank you.
I've been dealing with very serious health problems.
You'd been dealing with serious health problems.
Weighing on me a lot.
Your own or someone else's? Your own serious health problems.
And I don't know really how to kind of calm down and rest in order to heal.
And you don't know how to calm down and rest in order to heal. You just said it. Just rest. So, we tend to want things to be good for ourselves and for other people. And at times they're not. Can you let it be? It's really hard. It's really hard. So what I would suggest is some kind of very specific practice that you can bring your mind back to when you're doing it. And it's a kind of vacation, you know? You can think of practice as a vacation from all our worries and all the things that disturb us. So maybe a chanting practice, like, and I mean chanting like while you're sitting, not chanting out loud, but just in your mind, just quant symbols of quant symbols of quant symbols of quant symbols. That's the bodhisattva of compassion, right? Just very fast, faster than you can self-vocalize it, quant symbols, you know. And if you're physically able to do some prostrations, because prostrations, it's very hard to do cognition when you're doing fast prostrations. If you can do 108, that's fabulous. Maybe 27, maybe 9, you know. But very regularly, every day, 4 great vows, prostrations, sitting. And if you're in a situation where you can chant out loud, not everybody is, because most of us live with other people, they don't want to hear it, you know. But if you are in a situation where you can, then some kind of chanting, maybe just Kwanzaa Bosal chanting, maybe something like the Great Dharani, you know, whatever, just just chant Kwanzaa Bosal, you know, whatever, for a certain amount of time. And what this does is it gives you a place to rest, gives you something to do that allows you to rest. And then the other thing I'm going to say, it's very hard to hear, but Buddha's first noble truth is that everything that exists, not just that is alive, everything that exists, existence entails suffering. So existence entails suffering. Also, everybody dies. So there's always pain, and at the end there's death. There's also joy, right? But to kind of be able to step back and not hold on to the diagnosis, not hold on to the symptoms, to be able to step back. What is your true self? Who are you? You know, that's for any of us. Who am I? If I take away my house and my car and my job, if I take away, in my case, my crappy knee, you know, if I take away, you know, whatever it is, whatever the good things, the bad things, so-called good things, so-called bad things, if I take it away, who am I? And then to have some kind of faith in that. So whatever happens, in some weird way, is okay, which does not mean that whatever happens feels good. This is not one of those, you know, oh, you know, say this, you know, something, 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 and, you know, whatever happens, it's okay because you feel, you know, it's good for you. No, it's not. You know, it can be terrible. But that's just sort of, okay means how it is. Just to be able to completely accept how it is and deal with it for what it is and not as we're afraid of it. And these are very easy words for me to say. And it's very hard to do. But I would encourage you to take that ability to look at your true self. Your true self. Your true self is never born and it never dies. That's very important. So to be able to find that true self and take refuge in the practice. Take that vacation. Well, I'm practicing now, I don't have to think about that, you know? And at the same time, this question, what am I? What am I made of? What is my true self? To be able to rest in that, okay? And I wish you all the luck, all the good, whatever, and we can add your name to our chanting list if you want. Okay, just tell me afterwards and we can do that. So thank you for your question. Are there any other questions? Yes.
I've been thinking of how to phrase this question for a long time, but when I'm going about my daily life and something occurs to elicit a reaction.
So you're going about your daily life, and something occurs to elicit a reaction.
It could be a wide variety of things, traffic, or maybe a poor interaction with somebody.
Could be traffic, could be poor interaction with somebody.
But, I realize, anger, frustration.
You realize, anger, frustration, oh no. Bad Buddhist, yes.
And, since practicing here, my habit has been to question, immediately my question is, what am I? And typically, it's, I can breathe it out and I don't know. And, to some degree, that reaction is lessened.
Okay, so since you started practicing, when you have a reaction, you go, what am I? And you have this very strong don't know, and that alleviates. That's not a question, that's a Dharma talk.
So contrasting this with growing up in America, what is the difference between that and repressing art?
What is the difference between that and repression? That's a wonderful question. So repression means bad Buddhist, don't do that. But when you're actually looking at something, this is anything in our lives, like what you were just talking about. If you just look at it and say, this is what it is. And you don't have to repress it, you just don't have to let it control you. That's the difference. It's not like, I remember once hearing some Tibetan teacher, and somebody asked him what he did when he's angry, and he said, I am never angry. And I thought, okay. If you believe that, I have a bridge across the Kansas River to sell you, It's not a question of not being angry. It's not a question of being repressing your anger. It's a question of your anger doesn't control you. Also, your joy doesn't control you. When we're feeling joyous and happy and we don't see what's going on around us, right? So that's no good either. So we just acknowledge this is happening, and it doesn't control us. We're awake. We're able to function. We're able to see what's around us instead of getting lost in our feelings and our delusions. So it's absolutely not about repression. It's not about that at all. It's about recognition and stepping back. You can let yourself be angry all you want. It's just like, look at me, I'm angry. That's different, right? So it doesn't take over, just, that's interesting, I'm really angry here. Okay? So thank you for your question. Yeah. Okay, we're out of time, so thank you, everybody.